Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with the Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, the Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode.
Hello, Hop Edition listeners. Welcome to episode 103 of the Hop Edition podcast. And tonight we're going to be talking to Luke Wilson from Braybrooke and tasting some of the finest lagers coming out of the UK right now. So this is one brewery that we have been super pumped to talk to for a long time, and I know a lot of the listeners out there too. So expect some oohs and ahs tonight as we start to drink some Braybrooke beers, and hopefully some great insights into the Braybrooke lineup. So just a little bit of background. I don't want to spoil it because I'm sure Luke's going to tell us a bit more, but just a little bit of a canned intro to Braybrooke. So founded by a trio of friends with decades of combined experience in the food and drink industry. They founded in 2017, and they are a specialist lager brewery situated on Braybrooke Farm just outside of Market Harbour in the heart of the British countryside. So just before we get to introducing Luke, I just want to say a big thank you to our partner sponsor, the Malt Miller, premier supplier of all things homebrew. So swing by their website and check out the great range in stock they have there, including right now their Black Friday sales section, which has some absolutely amazing savings on a huge variety of different homebrew equipment, products and various things. So go check that out. And whilst you're there, don't forget to check out the Hop Edition recipe section, where you'll find a pretty decent range of beers from the podcast, including ourselves, as well as creations from various previous podcast guests we've had on. So, with all of that said, say hi, Luke.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Thanks for having me. Good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. It's great to have you, Luke.
Thank you very much.
You're here with us for the evening. We always start the podcast with what you're drinking. So what's in the glass, Luke? What's in the glass?
This, in the glass currently is our Helles, which is one of our three core lagers. A sort of a classic take on a Helles, and always a good place to start. I think 4.2%, not too heavy, but really lovely, strong malt backbone, and just a really lovely, easy drinking, sort of a house lager style, I suppose, is one way to describe it. And probably the one I drink the most as a go-to, I would say.
It's an absolute banger.
That's good.
Amazing beer.
Can't blame you.
I'd be drinking a lot of that as well if I had unlimited access to your Hells, to be fair.
It is a bit dangerous, yeah. I've got to hold myself back a bit.
Restrain yourself from time to time.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Luke. Well, I'm going to go to Andy. Andy, what are you drinking?
Well, I first started when we were in our pre-chat. I have my Czech Pils, which is amazing. So good. Very, very sweet and creamy. And it's quite interesting now jumping to the Hells on this. Where the difference is the Hells is like got that, it's more that kind of green sort of Pilsner type, that where it's quite green, sort of the malt from the Pilsen, because it's a lot kind of lighter kiln type thing. And it's got that sort of German, would I say? Yeah, it's got German Pilsner malt type flavour sort of thing, whereas the Czech is more honey bready sort of thing. Yeah. So no, it's cool. That's what between the two. So it's quite interesting just seeing the differences.
It's warming up with a few of your own lagers, Andy.
Yeah.
Before we get into More lager. Amazing.
That's up.
Quite right.
Chris,
Yeah.
Chris, what are you drinking?
Right now, I've got the very remnants, the dregs in the bottom of the glass of my pineapple passion beer that I did for WHC. It's had a bit of a battering this week. I had some mates round, and it got spanked a little bit. Did that keg, but it's changed, not dramatically, but it's definitely changed since when we tried it last week. Much more grapefruit, much more citrus, but also with this really creamy mango at the end, but with all of that pineapple on the nose. But lined up, I've got the Helles, because why wouldn't you? It is just an absolute banger. I've had that. I think I must have had about 40 bottles of that Helles, and every single time you drink it and you go, yeah, I don't really want to drink anything else, because it's just so good. It's so clean. It's so crisp. But we'll talk more about it in a bit.
So, Chris, it's okay to admit you just drank most of the keg yourself. You don't have to pretend.
No, I
like
really
you had
didn't.
friends over.
I really, really didn't. I've only had 5 pints this week. Calm down, governor.
Very good. And just a bit of background before I hand over to poor Tricky, who's been suffering a bit with COVID this week, but he's made it. He didn't want to miss this.
I dragged myself across the floor to get onto the podcast tonight, but yes, my sense of smell and taste is still somewhat compromised. So I'm drinking a beer by Almasty as a warm up. It's a gluten-free pale ale with Citra in it, and I can't tell you much about it really because it's just fizzy yellow water at the moment. So I know that the beers from Braybrooke are outstanding, and I've had most of them before. So I'll try and give some feedback based off of my recollections, because I don't think my sense is going to be much good this evening for that. So yeah, there won't be too much flowery description of aromas and such like coming from my direction, unfortunately. But
Rich
I'll
could
do
be
my
getting
best.
you could be getting all sorts coming out. I'm getting, like hints of potatoes. Oh,
That's it.
who knows? Yeah, you probably just
Yeah,
not gonna
treat
get
any of my thoughts with caution, I think, this evening.
with caution. Yeah,
I'll be
big
honest, Vicky,
caveat.
we always do.
Well, that's probably wise, to be fair.
Fundamental. Speaking of Tricky, I'm drinking Tricky's pineapple passion beer. Which
Finally.
finally arrived after the Royal Mail decided to pull their head out of their arse.
Yeah. Royal Mail decided to deliver it back to me after keeping it for 4 days, which was really helpful of them. No explanation why either. Like, it just turned up at my house. Like, what the fuck? It circled the return address on it. It's like, nah, I don't fancy taking it to Southampton.
Not this time. Sorry, Tricky.
£4 to deliver it back to my own house. Unbelievable.
Yeah, time well spent. That I assume you put it back in the post and told them to get on with it.
Yeah.
And it did arrive safely, and it's not suffered, I don't think, as a
Good,
result
good.
being in the post for however many days it was in the post. So for context, this was, for those that listened, one of the beers from last week's podcast with WHC. Which I obviously didn't get to enjoy, so I'm enjoying it now, and it is very tasty, Tricky. Thanks very much. So I think
Sounds
we've
like you're
done-
having fun with that one.
yeah, it's good. It's very nice.
Excellent.
So we've done the round robin and we kept it pretty short. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
That was pretty speedy work. Luke, we've been known for that section to sometimes take upwards of 25 minutes.
Yeah.
When we sort of disappear down rabbit holes. So
Everyone's keen to get into the Braybrooke beers, that's why. It's like,
That's what it
get
is.
that out of the way.
right. Get the warm up beers down us. So actually, on that point, just want to give a big shout out to Luke and the team for very kindly sending us a range of Braybrooke beers to taste, drink, and enjoy on the podcast tonight. So big thanks, Luke.
Pleasure. Hopefully there's a nice selection for you guys.
It was. I'm pretty excited to be trying the. Is there a Harvest
Yeah.
beer in there? I'm
Harvest
pretty
Fest
excited
beer.
about that.
Yeah,
There's
and
a couple of Fest beers in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
Is
a
that the one
collab
with
we did with
Kirkstall?
Kirkstall. Kirkstall's the festive Helles, festival Helles, and then we did a fest beer that we release every year for we have a harvest party in September, and we do our fest beer every year for that. So we've got 2 festival beers. which doesn't cause any confusion down the brewery, as you can imagine. The festive Helles was a collab with Kirkstall. They came down and brewed it with us, so we're really excited to do that. So a couple of those, and then the core beers, the Keller, the Helles, and the Pilsner, and then the sixth was the Baltic Porter, which we've just released in the last week or so.
Kirkstall's a brewery which is, first of all, they do epic pizza. They also do really, really good roast potatoes, as my daughter will testify to, when she sat and ate 18 quid's worth of roast potatoes at Kirkstall. Wow. She loves a roast potato, does my daughter. It's really nice to see people collabing with Kirkstall, because they're not a brewery that tends to do a lot of collabs.
No,
not
I mean,
I've seen anyway.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe, I don't know. We've always been really good. Get on with them really well. They're a fantastic brewery. They make brilliant beers, and they've got a big sort of involvement in the festival up there, Leeds International, which I didn't get to go to this year, but I heard the location was incredible. In the I don't know if you went.
I didn't get to go either.
But yeah, so we did the collab for that, and they poured it there, and it all apparently went really well. So yeah, we really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get to do a return leg where we go up to Kirkstall, and maybe we can try a roast potato or two.
They are banging. I'll be honest, they are banging. It's a great place. The bar staff are really knowledgeable there, which is unusual. You tend not to get bar staff that understand malts and hops, and I seem to have got the one at Kirkstall who understood which hops were in stuff and the malts and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Probably rolled out the red carpet. They knew you were coming, Chris.
No, I don't think they did. I had two fucking feral children with me.
Just to put into context, Chris's daughter's only 6, so
yes.
that puts the 18 quid's worth of roast potatoes into context. Good effort, Abby.
I thought you were going to say 18 roast potatoes, but probably 18 quid's worth might be more than 18.
I reckon it's probably nearer 24.
Which in itself is incredible.
Was she like carb potatoes. Loading for a marathon or something?
Yeah.
No.
Probably taking a growth spurt.
Well, we call Abigail the queen of carbs, because if there's ever pasta, roast potatoes, potato wedges, and anything potato-based, she's all over it like a dirty rash. And it has been known, because, I mean, everybody has their seat at the table, and mine's right next to hers. And it has been known when I've been having a conversation with my wife to see a fork stab something on my plate that's carb-based and just take it back to hers. So, yeah, it's not uncommon.
So I think kids that eat well are always healthy.
Well, yep, absolutely.
So, moving on from roast potatoes. And before we get into the kind of the meat of the affair, nice little tangent there. Thanks. Glad Luke picked that up. Do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and tell us a bit about the kind of backstory of Braybrooke and who are you? Yeah. What do you represent? That kind of thing. Give us the pitch.
Sure. Yeah. So we started Braybrooke, as you said in your intro, in 2017. We started converting the brewery, which is on a farm, Braybrooke Farm, next to Braybrooke Village. You can wonder how we got the name for the brewery. So we're on Braybrooke Farm, and we're in an old grain store there. So we basically started converting that at the end of about this time in 2017. Over the sort of winter and the beginning of 2018, then we started brewing in 2018 springtime, May, I can't remember exactly when, but around that kind of time. And I've started it with 2 friends of mine. I also have a restaurant in London called 10 Greek Street that we've had for 12, nearly 13 years now, and my business partner in that, Cam Emirali. So I started the restaurant with him, and then he's one of our business partners in the brewery. And then the other business partner is Nick Trower, who has had a company in London, a beer wholesale company called Beercraft, distributing beers to restaurants, bars, hotels, and whatnot within the sort of M25 for the last 10 years or so with him. So the three of us started. We love all beers. We should probably say that from the outset. love all styles of beer, but we really wanted to focus on lager. We felt that lagers was slightly underrepresented in this country, especially in the smaller brewery craft section, and also when you go to Germany, but also Czech Republic, other countries, you see like incredible lagers produced on a smaller scale, and in this country most of the lagers, well still, but back then it was rare to get people concentrating on lager in the sort of craft section in this country. And so we just really wanted to focus on that and show that when lagers are made properly in the traditional method with the right amount of time, that they can rival, the best beers in the world. And so that was our focus, and is still our focus. And we only make lager, and our drive, or our starting point, I suppose, is to make the best lager. That's our drive and our ambition. I'm not saying we do it. I'm saying that's where we're trying to get to. And so everything we do is based around that, really. Sourcing of ingredients, sourcing of equipment. We've just done I've just done a bit of an expansion at the brewery, put in a new brew house, and then with fantastic brewers and a fantastic team, and doing it the traditional way, in a very with very German sort of approach, background, so that's kind of where we start out. And then we source our ingredients. The malt and the hops come from Germany. The malt comes from Bamberger malting house, fantastic, make incredible malts for lager. Their Pilsner malt and their Munich malt, which are the main two we use, but obviously others, but those are the main two, incredible malts. And then we get our hops, pretty much all, I'd say over 95% of our hops come from Lockerhofen, which is in Tettnang. Ludwig, a single hop producer there, making incredible hops, and we have contract with him, and he's brilliant, and makes some of the best hops, we think, for lager. So those are our two sources for them. Our yeast comes from it's our own yeast. We have it in a lab, and it's it's propagated for us on order, but it's our own specific strain, our house lager yeast. And then obviously the water is Braybrooke water, which goes through reverse osmosis and whatnot to make perfect brewing water for lager. And that's really the 4 ingredients. Very rarely would we have a 5th ingredient. The Baltic Porter, or 6th, actually. The Baltic Porter is one exception because it's got molasses and honey in it. So it's quite rare for us to do that. But we think that adds a really, extra dimension to that beer.
Well, that's 7 of the questions we were going to ask answered pretty much straight away there, to be fair. No, don't be. I've used Bamberger malts a couple of times when I've been brewing, and
I've never heard of them, Chris.
No. They're excellent.
No. It's interesting because it's something I've not come across. Maybe it's one of those.
Is it actually a maltster called Bamberger, or malts from Bamberg?
Yeah.
No, it's called Bamberger.
So it's not Vehemen. It's a separate.
No.
Maltster.
So Vehemen, much bigger operation, and do good malt, and is much better known in this country. And their export had always been more than Bamberger. Bamberger's a bit smaller. We have a close relationship with Stefan Michel, who was part of his Marsbrau brewery in Bamberg. Mm-hmm. And so when we started out, he was really helpful in putting us in touch with Bamberger, and that kind of helping us set up those relationships. And we now, with the work we've just done at the brewery, we've installed 2 malt silos. So actually we're taking in containers of malt now, which really helps with the, from the sustainability side of things as well. Just I don't know exactly how much they hold, but it's a lot, lot of malt.
But it doesn't come in big bags or whatever. It's now coming on. Is it a truck that loads it? Or
Comes
what?
on a truck effectively. We've had one, and it basically comes a whole truck and just backs up, and it took about 4 or 5 hours to pour it into our chute and up into the silos, and it does us for about 3 or 4 months, I'd say.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
Yeah.
one pallet is a ton. And how many pallets would fit into ignoring the pallets in the bags?
It'll be like 35,000 tonners. Oh well, no.
Yeah.
No, it won't be that much. Probably, I don't know.
Well,
Probably
it's
25 tons, probably around about that.
That's
it's still a lot.
I would guess about that. Yeah.
A fair quantity.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. It's a decent amount to get you started with, yeah.
I mean, it'd last Brett about a week. That's what we're saying. So, first of all, is my volume any better now?
Yeah. Well, you're fine. Right. I think it's your mic was maybe just not close enough.
I think that's
it was turned slightly. I had the Owen problem. It had turned slightly.
Oh, right, okay.
So, it's nearly gone.
Oh, you're doing good, Chris.
I was just smelling it. I haven't even drunk it yet.
Oh my God!
I've just sat here smelling it.
That's very disciplined of you, Owen. Well done.
Freaking good.
I have no discipline when it comes to this particular beer. None. I'll
take your word for it, Owen.
Yeah. It's such a great beer. Did you say the hops were Tettnang?
They're from Tettnang, yeah. The hops in them are Tradition and Pearl.
Tettnang's the growing
Tettnang's
region,
the place.
As well as the
Tettnang is a place.
Sorry. Tettnang is there is Tettnang hop. The Tettnang is the place. It's where the farm is, where Ludwig farms the hops. But it's Tradition and Pearl.
It's so floral. It's so like flowery. It's that classic Bavarian meadow. It's such a phenomenal beer. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass because I'm not that kind of guy, but Jesus Christ, this is such a fantastic beer.
Oh, thank you.
It's amazing. There's a little side story. Indulge me for 30 seconds. So there's a bunch of guys who go to LCBF every year who are they're mechanics and stuff like that for Formula One teams, because LCBF is always during the week between 2 races. And I got chatting to them a few years back, and they were like, "Oh, you seem to know your beer," because I was wearing the Hop Edition logo, and they asked me about it, blah blah blah. And I said, there's a few places where you need to go. I said, first off, you need to go to Braybrooke. You need to go to Arbor. You need to go to Verdant, and I said you need to go to Budvar as well. And they caught up with me the last year when I was talking to you and I got your business card about coming on here.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, you need to get to Braybrooke and you need to do it now or he's going to run out of the Gravity Keller beer. And they went, no problem, stubbed out their cigarettes and walked off. So those blokes who turned up who were massively jacked, one of them with a McLaren logo and the other one with a Mercedes AMG Petronas top on, they were the guys that I sent over to you, and I told them specifically to drink this and to drink the Keller. So yeah, it's something that I always recommend to people when they want a lager. Is I always say try the Helles, try the Keller from Braybrooke. They're classic examples. This is such a I could wax lyrical about it for hours. This is it's a magnificent beer.
Oh, thank you.
The only downside, there's one downside.
I know what you're going to say.
Go on then.
The bottles, the small bottle.
Yep.
You want a 500ml bottle, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Buy more.
Pint size would be
actually,
fine.
I'll be honest. 568ml would be perfect.
Exactly.
That's a good point. What's the philosophy behind that?
It?
Yeah.
What, behind the 330s?
Yeah.
Most of our beer goes. About 75% of it at the minute goes down to London and through Beercraft, which is my business partner's wholesale company, and goes to, which supplies a lot of restaurants. It's a lot of mid to high end restaurants and hotels and things, and they all want 330.
Yeah.
They don't really do we find it. I now work with Nick at Beercraft as well, and you get breweries who change, and they were doing, whether it's can or bottle, what they were doing 330, and they suddenly say, "All right, we're doing 440s or we're doing 500s," and that just stops sales for us, because those restaurants and people, they want people to have you know what it's like if you're going for a meal that's not, that you're going to drink wine, you're probably not having a 500ml can first. You probably have a bottle or a can of 330, and then you might have one at the end as a refresher or whatever it is. They like the smaller size, but also they don't. The larger formats also come across as, when you put restaurant margins on, they're a bit more expensive. So your 330s work better. So for that reason, we started with 330s, because that was our original route to market, because Beercraft was already going, and we love these bottles, which are the traditional traditional German style bottles, and then it's just carried on, and we do have this conversation quite a lot, and we've had it with the new changes we've just made to the brewery about whether we do 500s as well. But we do have mainly retail customers, shops and whatnot, saying, why don't you put it in 500 mils?
What's that one, Chris?
What's that one?
500.
500 mil. Yeah.
He's on mute. He's miming.
I'm
for us.
unmuting. It's like that's a 500, and that's a 330, and I can understand what you're saying. Maybe I'm just not going to the same restaurants, but I would want at least a 440 if I'm having a beer. I don't drink wine at all, so that's probably where I'm coming from. But I've got no issues with having two of them, or 3, or 12.
But it's interesting, because up here we've got was it West Brewery, and they do the same. They're 330s as well. They do the little cans or the bottles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think when you think about the high-end restaurant, hotel thing, is like, your branding's very classy, and I think there's a difference between having a pint, which is very pub focused, isn't it, versus a high-end hotel bar, or you're sat at a table in a restaurant. So I can kind of understand the sort of, there's a slight nuance. It's almost a class style thing.
It's
75%. Also,
it's not generally going to be by the pint, is it? It'll be smaller bottles, like you say.
It's also a practical
is going
thing.
to that, then that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
75% is going to that, then why would you then put 25% of it into 500s? I can see both sides.
But the other thing is that producing 500ml bottles and 330 is much harder than it sounds. Your bottling machine needs to be like the bottling machine that we used to have. You had to have a different head to bottle 500 mils. That cost, I think the head cost 25 grand just to change. But then it was like a day or several days of work. It's not like, you can do this, and now you can do some 500s, and now you can do some 330s. With our new machine, that there is potential, but again, it's still more work. But there is, I would say, probably a plan to do 500 mils as well at some point.
Just
for you, Chris. Just for you.
Thanks, man.
You have to commit to a certain volume a year, and then we'll
a contract.
Would you be better off? Would you be better off canning though, if you were going to go 500?
Sorry?
Would you be better going to can if you were going to change to 500?
Well, we wouldn't change totally. We'd keep our 330s, and then again, we'd have to, that would involve buying a whole new canning machine, whereas this is a change of we could change to a 500ml bottle within the same machine. But also the 500ml bottles are sort of a nod to our German,
that's the authentic German packaging,
exactly.
Delivery method, and just size up what we're already using.
They favour bottles, don't they, in Germany, over cans, right?
Yes.
And they recycle them, which is
yeah.
I was going to ask, do you
which
guys
at some point
recycle
might
your
come in.
bottles? Okay.
You're not allowed to.
You're not.
DRS.
You're not allowed to you're not allowed to recycle bottles.
No, as far as I'm aware, you're not allowed to recycle bottles in this country.
That's
why they're trying to introduce
we tried to do it up here in Scotland. So we had the deposit return scheme in Scotland, and it fell through.
Delayed, didn't it?
Well, it got delayed because the UK government was basically like, yeah, you can do it, but not for glass.
That's ridiculous.
And that was the whole point, right? So then it all just fell apart, and there's been all sorts of now legal claims to the Scottish government over it. So yeah, it's sad in a sense, but then it was also going to impact small breweries in quite a big way as well. It seems like a great idea, but then the cost to small breweries was insane. So I think it definitely benefited the big multi conglomerate companies, should we say, but not the smaller brewers.
All I've got to say to that bullshit, just in case there's somebody from the UK government listening, is you did it for milk bottles for about 70 years, so shut up, get it done. You know.
I think the hard part, right, is like when you start out with a system, it's easier. When you're fundamentally trying to change a system, that's when it's really hard, right? Because there's probably whole industries that it almost completely eliminates. Or that you're asking like a whole industry to completely adapt their operating model. Yeah, basically, yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that like probably run companies that do recycle
logistics
glass for the UK.
Yeah. There's trucks up and down the UK probably delivering glass all the time. The other thing is the glass as well, and like UK bottles is a lot thinner than German. See, when you get those German bottles, when we get them imported, and they've got that big ring round them, that you can tell it's been recycled. Those suckers weigh.
They're quite difficult to break.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've bounced a few of them off the floor and not had anything happen to them. What?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to try and break one over my head. Not like an American beer bottle. Yeah, they're practically paper thin.
Yep.
So while we're at this particular point, I do want to kind of swing into another part of the business. And we had a conversation about this at LCBF, Luke, and that is the actual kit that you use, the brewing kit.
Yeah.
Because the way that it's been described to me is it's basically German all the way, or is it Czech? It's one of the other, isn't it?
It's decoction, is it?
Yeah, it's a decoction mash. It can do decoction mash. We've just installed a new kit from a company called SSV.
That's UK.
They're in.
Yeah, they're a UK company.
Stainless steel vessels or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they just down the road from it? They're in like Ravensthorpe, aren't they? In Yorkshire.
Somewhere up. Where are you? Leeds.
Yeah, not far from Leeds. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not far from there, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're Murfield. That's where they are. SSV's in Murfield. I used to work about 250 yards from a place called Dr. Reddy's. Yeah.
So what did you change then? Look, with SSV?
Changed. So we started off with a kit from a company called Zip, who are Hungarian, but it's a completely German-based kit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a 10-hect kit.
Okay.
And we had the 2-vessel 10-hect kit, and we've gone to a 20-hect.
Yep.
Where it's 3-vessel. And so we've got more. We can brew more times a day. We can do twice as much, but more times a day as well.
Because how many did you brew before?
Until sort of August of this year, we were doing about 5 to 6 brews. 5 to 6 brews a week, so 5,000, 6,000 liters a week.
Yep.
And now we can, if we really went for it, you can go up by 4 or 5 times, but we're not in any rush, so we're just going to slowly grow it as we go. But we're brewing sort of
headroom. Yeah,
we're brewing about 80 hec a week now at the minute.
Okay.
But we're just going to slowly build it as we go, and we've got some. So we've got 20 hec fermenters, 20 hec lagering tanks, but we've got some 60 hec lagering tanks as well. So we can make triple batches of our core beers, which is really good because, we've been right on the cusp of capacity, and that's always a tricky thing, making sure that we've got enough beer for all of our customers, etc. And we had shortages, especially when, as we know, it's throughout the year, but when the sun comes out, you'd get a spike, and then you'd be short of beer, and so hopefully now we've got past that, and we can not have those shortages, but still with retaining the same quality. So we did a lot of research, and we've talked to a lot of people. SSV have done Daya's brew kit. They've done Verdant, I think as well. And we spoke to loads of people, and they all were really complimentary about them. The kit is actually made in China, but the company SSV is the designers and work with the company in China who make it, and then it comes over. And so far it's brilliant, and hopefully these beers are from that kit. So we think we're extremely happy, and they've been great to work with. So
has there been a bit of learning to do on the new kit as well? Because things,
but it's pretty, the system will be pretty automated. If you speak to Alexis or Ben, who's our other brewer, they're really loving it. Whereas obviously it's a different kit. It's like it does take a while to get used to, like anything, like having a new car. But it's more automated now. Yeah. But it's more automated. The last one was pretty automated, but this is more automated, and it's just a little bit more grown up and a little bit more. And we can still do the decoction mash, which for us is essential. And we think it adds a real sort of extra dimension to depth of flavour to the lagers. And,
if you happen to go right now to ssvlimited.co.uk, which is the company's website, the first thing that pops up on their news scroller is new brew block installed at Braybrooke Beer Co.
That is a lot of B's.
It's a lot for somebody
brew
who's got
block,
false teeth.
Beer.
Purple burger alarm.
Purple burglar, that's the one. But no, it's like these guys they've done Lakes Brew Co. They've done Osset and Salt. They've done a lot of stuff. And to be fair, I have seen their kit at numerous breweries when I've done open days, or when I've been for a visit, or just going to a tap room or whatever. There's a lot of their stuff about, and it's slap bang. It's Swinow View in middle of Leeds. It says LS13. So amazing stuff. And to be fair, by all accounts, from everybody that I've spoken to, really great stuff. Really well made.
Yeah, so really well made.
They sound like the kind of people to go and speak to. If they've done like Daya and Verdant, and clearly like pretty high end stuff. Luke, you mentioned decoction mashing.
Thanks, Owen. I was going to get on that.
We definitely are interested in that. So fundamentally, we understand, and I think most of our listeners would probably understand that. But sorry, I've got some fireworks going off pretty much outside of my window. So sorry if there's any background noise. But if you could give us like a little bit of a rundown in terms of like just basic explanation of what decoction mashing is, but also we're really interested in understanding how does it work in a commercial scale brewery? For us, if we wanted to do it, it's basically getting a ladle out and a saucepan and actually just boiling the malt on the stove. Clearly, it's going to be very different on a commercial scale.
No, we get a ladle and we just get a lighter.
A really big ladle.
A really freaking big
and a really big lighter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we effectively what we do is we hold about a third of the brew back in the mash tun. 2/3 goes to the lauter tun, and then it gets boiled for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes roughly. And then added back into the lauter tun. And so it sounds pretty simple, but you need the right kind of kit to be able to do that. And then and it just, as I say, adds a real sort of depth of maltiness to it, and a real, I don't know, there's a lot of people, some people say you can't, some people say you can. I think it's really important. We all think it's really important.
Are you decocting all of the beers, or are there specific ones
Yeah.
that you do? Or you
No,
don't? So
we're decocting
literally-
all of them.
So all the bottles we've got here are all decoction.
As far as
mash
I'm
to
aware,
some
yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
I don't know what gives it away. Maybe it's the colour of the Keller lager. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's
Well,
super
I've got the
sweet.
Pilsner.
I think on the I mean, I think you can tell it on all of them, but that extra maltiness you really do get. I think that kind of on the Helles and the Keller, and those two are really like a celebration of the incredible Bamberger malts. The Pilsner's obviously more hoppy and more hop forward, and is about the hops and the malt. But the Helles and definitely and especially the Keller. The Keller's where we started. Like originally, my idea was just to make Keller, because I've been to Bamberg. I've drunk those rich sort of amber Keller beers. There's a beer by Marsbrow called AU, which is literally AU, and I just want to make Keller. It's just my favorite drink I've ever had, and I'll happily drink that for the rest of my life. And then we started, and we got invited to our first beer festival, and they were like, "Oh, but you need 3 beers," and we were like, "Oh, okay, better make more beers." And so that was pretty lucky. But then that's obviously where the Helles then came from, and then we had a beer called the Session Lager for a long time, which was effectively a sort of a mini Pilsner, and then we replaced that a year, 18 months, maybe 2 years ago now, with the Pilsner. So now it's the Pilsner, Keller, and Helles. But the Keller is the one where we started, so that's our flagship, and probably the one that we're best known for, because it's not a style that's made all the time by brewers, whereas obviously lots of people make Pilsners and Helles.
It isn't, and it's. I'm drinking it right now. I know everybody. Well, not everybody. I think Andy's on the Keller at the moment, but the
he told us, Chris.
the Keller is just. It's so deep, and and let's face it, when you make a lager, there's nowhere to hide.
I'm interested. I actually don't know the difference between. I know how Pilsen, Helles, and all that, right? But Keller, what is it that makes a Keller beer?
It's like, actually, Keller means cellar in Germany, in German, but it really actually just means unfiltered. And so, like, Lost and Grounded's Keller Pils is a much lighter color, more Pilsner style, but it's an unfiltered Pilsner. It's a fantastic beer. So Keller actually kind of just means unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of breweries in Bamberg and around that southern Germany will make their own Keller beer, and some will make this style, which is the richer, more amber, more malty. And the reason for the addition, I sometimes feel like it's kind of Helles, and then Helles is the gateway drug into Keller, in terms of malt, and the Keller has more of the Munich malt. So the Keller is really a showcase for that Munich malt, which is slightly richer,
sweeter,
slightly darker, and it's sweet.
I was going to say that, but I was like,
malty loveliness that I really
like. It's almost bordering like pushing towards a Märzen.
Yeah, not far off.
Yeah.
It's such a depth of flavour within this beer. It's very. Having just drunk the Helles, where the hops play a much more prominent role. With this, it's much more of a balanced beer for the malt to the hops, but you do get that
caramel,
just that caramel sweetness almost.
Yeah.
I don't want to say cinder toffee because it's not that deep. It's not that deep of a sweetness, but it's a whip. It's getting towards that kind of
it's Munich malts, the screamer, isn't
definitely.
it?
It's not that toffee.
It's not got that kind of grassy Pilsen malt type thing. No. It's more towards the
What I'm getting is toast.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of toast. Yeah, a lot of toast.
I'm getting not quite brown bread toast, but toast.
It's a 50-50 toast.
Yeah, but it's subtle. It's not like hit you in the face toast, but
no, it's great. It's an absolute.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's good.
If you've not tried it, there's a bread company called Jason's who makes sourdough bread. Trust me, I'll come back to beer in a second.
Sourdough.
Jason's make sourdough bread. It's available in most good supermarkets, and they do a malted sourdough. And the toast that Owen's just been talking about, my kids are spoilt rotten, okay? They pretty much predominantly eat sourdough bread. And when they have beans on toast, if I don't have the malted bread, they're not happy. This
No wonder.
tastes like the
that.
malted sourdough from Jason's that's been toasted a little bit. And it's deep. It's
There you
deep.
go. Is that why you love it so much, Chris? Is
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and my kids love it because it's sourdough bread. But this is just fantastic. It's a great beer.
I think
And-
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's hoppier. It's hoppier than a Märzen.
yeah,
In it, it's still got quite a lot of hop flavour.
Yeah.
So it's there definitely is a hop forwardness to
Is there
it.
Tettnang in that?
No, it's all pearl.
Oh,
there's
right.
there's none of that spicy pepperiness.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
much
made.
more floral.
It's. I'm getting hints of
Pearl
a
can
Munich.
bring a little bit of spiciness, though, I think.
You have to use a lot of it though for it to be that way.
The last Munich Helles I made was with Pearl, I think Hersbrucker and Tettnang, and I'm getting that hop flavour that I got from that, but it must be the Pearl then.
It's
that's
amazing.
bringing that.
It's amazing.
It's the beer that we get the most when people say to us, "Oh, I don't drink lager," and you go, "Oh, what?" Or I didn't drink lager, and then I tried your Keller.
Yeah.
It's the one that
Gateway.
almost another gateway. But
Yeah.
it's because it's got that slightly richer, sweeter, almost kind of. So people like ales. You can see that sweetness kind of as opposed to a Pilsner, which it's got that hoppy, bittery thing. They're like, that's not my bag. So
yeah.
we you do get that when you're at a festival or you're doing whatever, and people come over and go, I don't drink lager. You go, well, just try that, and often it works.
See their face light up. I had my father-in-law come and visit a few weeks ago, and he's quite historically quite a staunch, like, he lives in Ireland, so he's a Guinness drinker, but he's English and he really likes real ale, but can't really get it in Ireland. And I said to him, like, do you like lager? And he's like, no, I don't drink lager. So I gave him a Bretted Pilsner. Without telling him, I just was like, oh, just try that. Because he's also been getting into a bit of craft beer as well, because he lives near Bull House in Belfast.
Oh, nice.
And he's been getting really into that, like drinking much more
Dank.
like hazy beers. So I gave him that, and he was like, and I said, that's a lager, did you know that? And he was like, no. So and I think that sort of brings me back to a point you made about kind of your purpose at Braybrooke, Luke, which was the fact that you saw lager being underrepresented in the craft scene. But I think it's deeper than that. It's that lager in the UK is misunderstood.
Very.
100%. Yeah.
And it's amazing to come across breweries that like Braybrooke that are trying to re-educate the UK public to what lager can be, not what we understand lager to have been in the past. You know what I mean?
I would disagree with that, Owen. I don't think it's educating people as to what lager can be. I think it's educating people as to what lager actually is. Because what it can be is it can be shit, and it can come in a can that says Carling on it. Or it can be absolutely fucking mind-blowing and come with a label that says Braybrooke Helles or Braybrooke Keller.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the difference.
It's about what it should be.
Yes.
Not what it can be, right?
I think it's that, but it's also the variety that people just think lager is one thing.
Yeah.
They think it's a yellow fizzy liquid, and when we drink the Baltic Porter later, it's anything but a yellow liquid. You know, like
Yeah.
the width of lager is so much bigger than everyone that, sorry, not everyone, than a lot of people ever consider. And so that's another thing that we're, you know, trying to showcase, is that there is this breadth of style.
People don't
and
understand the depth.
No, I mean, lots of people do. There's a lot more as well, I think, as we go along. But yeah, on the whole, that's when we started, was one of the things. And I'm, you know, guilty of it myself. When I started drinking beers and drinking lagers, I was like, and then you wouldn't think a Baltic Porter is a lager, but it is. And, you know, so I think it's just been misrepresented slightly. And yeah, as well as showing what lager should be when made properly, but also the breadth of style.
I'm going to say that I think you're being very polite with what you're saying, Luke, because there's a lot of people within the UK who've only ever drunk macro brewed rice lager shite, and they've never bought a bottle of Budvar, or they've never bought a Braybrooke Helles, or they've never had a true German lager. Because the difference between UK lager, which is predominantly shite, and German lager is Germans have made a tradition of brewing one style of beer for, call it 1,000 years. And it's only for me personally, over the last sort of 10 years, that I've really understood that there is a much deeper, there is a much deeper range of beers within the lager style, and the 95% of the UK public have never been exposed to that. And it's time that people got exposed to that, because, I mean, compared to the Helles, which I've just drunk, it's a different beer. It's a different beer.
This takes me back to when we do an Oktoberfest episode, right? And we drink all these banging 6% super malty lagers. This is what this Keller's like. It's just full of flavour, isn't it?
It's amazing.
If you give it a little swirl and then give it a little honk, there's just a lovely little touch of sulphur on it.
Yes. Perfection. Perfection.
And it blends with the hop aroma just beautifully. It's wonderful.
So just bring us back to kind of where this sort of started for you, Luke. I mean, obviously you've talked about Bamberg like a lot already, but what took you to like Germany and Bamberg, and was there specific beers or reasons for you to get into German beers, or a particular beer or brewery? I think you mentioned one that you've worked with setting up
Marsbrow. Yeah.
It
was, to be fair, it was Nick who, my business partner, who, when we were doing the brewery, said we should really focus on lagers.
Yeah.
And we, you know, after a moment of thinking, you know, actually thought that was a really good idea to try and showcase it. And I really liked, and I still really like the idea of dialing in on something and really just focusing on it and really trying to showcase it. And also, you know, there weren't many people, especially at that point, doing that. You know, there were breweries making nice lagers, but there was no one that was just solely focused on lager. And Nick had imported Marsbrow. It was one of the first beers he had when he first started Beercraft, his wholesale company, and knew Stefan really well. And so he said, let's go to Bamberg and see Stefan and talk about it, and, you know, just go from there. And we went there, and Bamberg's incredible. If you've never been there, everyone should go there. Amazing, beautiful place, amazing beers, amazing sort of culture, just incredible. But and we just fell in love, and we fell in love with the beers. We fell in love with the beers from Marsbrow, but from the other beers from other breweries around, the small little breweries outside of Bamberg. When you drive around the countryside and you stop, and there's just, I can't remember the name now, I should remember, but there's a brewery where they just brew one beer, and then they smoke meats, and you just sit in this place in the countryside and you eat smoked meat and drink there.
You need to remember the name of that place. Yeah. That sounds like perfection for us.
Amazing.
Yes,
it's so amazing. But yeah, the culture there of lager and the history, and the quality of them. So it was really Bamberg and around there that really created the spark for us. And then, as I say, drinking beers like AU, which is their Keller beer at Marsbrow, I was just like, I've never had that, because the thing I love about lager probably the most is the fact that you get this breadth of style and you get this in depth of flavor, but you have that finish to it that makes you wanting another sip. The clean, crisp lager finish. I think the Baltic Porter is such a good example of that, because, you know, I drink Guinness and other stouts, and I drink, other beers, and they're delicious, but they don't have that sort of clean thing that makes you want to have another sip and another. And the Baltic Porter is like a Guinness that's got that lager finish to it. And I just think that I just love that. And that's why I just keep going. What I keep going back to every time I drink lagers and good lagers. And I think when you have a lager that hasn't been made properly or well, and you don't get that crisp finish, you can tell. And and so but Rich, to answer your question, it was Bamberg and the start there that really started. And then, we just wanted, as I say, our starting point was trying to make the best lagers. And I come from a restaurant background. I've worked in restaurants and run restaurants and had a restaurant in Soho and for 12 years or so, as I said, and then other places. But, I've always come from the basis of you use the best ingredients.
Yep.
Whatever it is, and then you try not to F it up to get it to the glass or the plate.
Don't feel scared about swearing on this podcast, Luke. Seriously, don't feel scared about swearing on it, man.
You try not to fuck it up on the way to the consumer. You can. So, and it's the same with the food that we serve at the restaurant. You don't do too much of it. You don't try to be too clever. And it's the same with us at the brewery. Like you're never going to make the best lagers if you don't have the best ingredients.
And from that, you obviously decided to then source everything from that same region as well. Was that obviously important to you?
It was important to get again, it was about getting the best malt. And we found, and for us, we don't think that you can get the same results that we get from UK malt. And UK hops. And so, and it makes sense, because for hundreds of years, the malteries in the UK have been making malt for ales. And so they're set up, and the barley that we grow here and etc. and the hops that we grow here, it's all about the ale industry. Yeah. And so that's important. It's not about
extract instead of flavour as well. So it might be that Germans have always chased actually the flavour it brings to their lagers, rather than just chasing that extract efficiency to get the amount of sugars sort of thing in the UK.
Quality over yield, isn't it?
And suitability for the processes you're using, like decoction mashing, which is something we talked at length with
under modified malts.
Radim from Budvar. And he expressly talks about specific malts being more suitable or less suitable for that. So
100%,
that process may not work at all if you're using UK malts in some circumstances.
Just to jump on this really quickly, because this question is going to lose its effect if I don't ask it now. So Luke Stevens, again, the guy who introduced us to Braybrooke, has said, will Braybrooke ever take on a Hefe like Andex have? Are you ever going to produce a Hefeweizen?
Are you ever going to produce an ale, I guess is the question.
No. Probably is the answer. Because, forgive my ignorance, is a Hefe, we're talking about a wheat beer, aren't we?
Yeah. Wheat beer.
Hefeweizen,
But not a lager. So, no, I mean, we've, and I actually don't know why, we've made 2 beers that weren't lagers in 7 years, and they were both goes. And I'm not entirely sure why we did it at the time. They were delicious, but our previous brewer just came to us with an idea, and we'd made the original one in the traditional goes way that with the coriander seeds and the sea salt, and it was delicious. And then we made another one as a collab with a chef from Birmingham called Brad Carter, which was a little bit more different. But apart from that, I just want to make lagers, just pure lagers.
This is the kind of comment that you're going to get on this podcast, Luke. Is Liam McGee, he's Lancastrian, so we won't hold it against him. But he said it's a shame because he was going to pre-order a pallet.
Oh well, I'll do it then. Don't worry, I'm on it.
Done. Yeah.
It's one of those things. To be fair, I appreciate the fact that you've gone, we're a lager brewery, we're going to make lagers. We're going to produce all the lagers. We're going to do everything from Pilsner through Keller, through Helles, right the way out to, the Baltic porters. I appreciate that. And I'll be honest with you, please don't change, because what you're producing at the moment is banging. But it is one of those things where we've spoken at great length about the tradition and the skill and the product that comes from a German brewery and German styles of brewing. There's nowhere to hide. I would personally very much like it if you would take on a Hefe, because I do think it's something that with your skill set of producing lagers in the fashion that you have, I think you would be very good at.
Yeah, because of the decoction.
Exactly, decoction.
Because that's what we found out was Andex Hefe is actually decocted, and that's what makes it like one of the best Hefeweizens.
No, stop that. It's the best Hefeweizen.
Well, yeah, it's the best. sorry,
Hands
Chris.
down.
The best.
Hands down.
Yeah.
If you haven't, Luke, had a chance to try Andex or any of the Andex beers, but perhaps you have.
Yeah, that's true.
They make some supremely good lager, but they also make, well,
the
as
best.
you just heard, one of the best Hefeweizens around.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Luke. I'll tell you what I'll do right now. Offline, obviously, don't do it in chat. Send me your address. I'll send you some of the Andex beers. I'll send you a Hefe. I'll send you the red and the green. I can't remember the names.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much.
I will send you some of those beers because they are truly godlike. And honestly, they stand up to your beers very, very well.
Yeah.
I'll send you some. You need to try them. They're phenomenal beers.
So Andex is a monastery brewery in Germany and Bavaria. Definitely worth Googling just to see
it's phenomenal.
Their brewery and where it's located, like right on a sort of bend of a river, and it all looks very picturesque. Anyway, that's on the bucket list to visit one day.
Definitely. Definitely. Sure. One of the things that I did want to ask was, obviously I've drunk a lot of your beers, and you may not know the answer to this, and if you don't, feel free to say I don't know. But how do you go about managing diacetyl within your beers? Because it's one of the things that I do not get in your beers. I don't get diacetyl.
Yeah, it's basically time. It's a rest. It's a diacetyl rest that we do. It's like diacetyl's like the what's, I don't know what the curse
or original.
But it's that thing in the back of your head that you're just like keeps you awake a bit at night, because it just ruins what you want to log in. And I'll be very honest, we have had beers that have, I get it every now and again, you get a batch.
Yep.
And weirdly, I've had, there's an old addict, like beers with a bit of diacetyl in, consumers often quite like, because it's got like a vanilla, but it's something we absolutely are.
Yep.
Don't want, especially in lager. I think it just takes away everything from a lager that you're looking for. I think obviously there's diacetyl in other beers that actually sometimes is either there on purpose, or if it's not there on purpose, slightly adds.
Exactly.
To,
I'm sure the Czech beers they've got that little bit of diacetyl.
Some Czech beers,
yeah. But to answer your question, it's time.
Yeah.
Just do a diacetyl rest, basically.
That's awesome. That's really, really good, because it's one of those things that you try to understand how the process removes it, and it's good to hear that my process is exactly what needs to happen.
What, laziness?
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't mind taking your time, Chris, do you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Chris forgets to keg it, and he just leaves it in the fermenter for longer because it just doesn't have
it's normally
time.
like a 3-month diacetyl rest by
Yeah,
accident.
yeah. And then his beers turn out amazing, and then you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, it's weird that you should mention the fact that it ruins a lager, because when you were talking earlier about that crispness, one of my friends from jiu-jitsu, he describes the clarity of a lager as the full stop at the end of the mouthful. And it's like you're drinking it and you drink it, and then all of a sudden it's like the flavour and everything about what you've just drunk just goes and stops. And he describes it as the full stop, and that's that crispness, that clarity. And sometimes when you get that diacetyl, the full stop becomes a period, and nobody wants those 3 dots. You just want one, and it's kind of the flavour lingers, and it totally ruins a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on like how present it is, right? But a lot of diacetyl is always going to ruin any beer, isn't it? But especially a lager where there's so little room, so little.
I would say though, Chris, about your comment, like, drinking the beer now, I can still, I've got the flavour of the beer, but the crispness cuts almost I don't know, whatever it's like the coating of the mouth or a little bit of the richness that keeps it clean. And I also think that's a large part of why I think lagers work so well with food as well.
Yeah.
Because they cut through food really well, but they don't
especially
fight.
Fatty food.
Yeah. And they don't fight with food. A lot of, especially hoppier beers, can really sort of want to be the centerpiece.
Given your background, Luke, I guess this is a good segue to take it in a slightly different direction. Sort of, do you like pair these beers with particular foods in your restaurants, or you like suggest particular meals or things that they go well with?
I mean, I think that undoubtedly there's food matching. Our restaurant's not a high end. It's not tasting menu, food matching, that kind of thing. But and I think the lighter styles of our lagers are obviously really good aperitif style at the beginning of a meal. They're really good with fatty foods. They're really good with your having a variety of food, loads of different styles, and you want a drink that's not going to, as I say, interfere or combat and sit next to. And then I think as we get richer, the food matching can become a little bit more specific. I think the Keller is really good because it's of the richness. It can stand up to a bit more, bit richer food style as well. And then I think there's really interesting stuff when you look into the like Baltic porters. We make a Doppelbock. Those darker beers. I was going to say that can
maybe start going with like desserts and things like that.
Exactly, desserts and cheese, hard cheeses and sticky toffee puddings and all of that kind of stuff. Chocolate, all of that stuff, and so I think there's lots of potential there. We've done some interesting things like with the wort. We've in the restaurant, we've taken the wort and boiled it down and basically turned it into a treacle kind of consistency, and used it in a sticky toffee pudding, some like a really malty syrup or over ice cream or something like that. That was really delicious,
like malt extract caramel kind of thing.
Yeah. And so there's interesting things you can do, and then I suppose it's going back to that breadth of style that. Yeah, lagers can be at the beginning of the meal, they can be during the meal, and they can be with pudding. I suppose that's a good testament to the variety.
Yeah.
I'm muted. I realise that. I'm going into the pills. Sorry, I'm going into the pills.
Yeah, I've tried. I've been drinking the pills. I was just messaging Chris there. Pills next.
I did them the other way around to you guys because I put them in order of ABV, and you.
And you were technically right. I think Andy and Chris got it wrong.
That was why.
Well,
that was why I was confused.
Chris told me to actually go the Keller first, and then
I was like halfway through the Keller when I started talking about it.
Well, anyway, the Pilsner I really enjoyed because I could actually taste some of the hops on it.
It's really do you know what? It's really zesty.
Really nice zippy flavour to it.
Kind of lemony, sort of limey, sort of zest thing, high note on it. That just, it was actually going back from the Keller back to that kind of zesty. Actually, highlighted how zesty it is. So yeah, really good.
Definitely a kick of citrus in that.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
a huge amount, but there is definitely a kick.
I want to just look back 1 second and talk a bit more about decoction mashing and Luke, is it do you know whether it's a single decoction or whether it's a double decoction or triple?
Single.
It's just single. So you guys
single for now. Yeah, we've got a plan to get in a new bit of kit to make it triple. Sorry.
Oh,
hello.
Oh, hello.
Okay, you got to do a press release on that. Send me an email. Let me know when that's done, because I absolutely guarantee you, pretty much everybody we got a brewers group on Facebook. There's probably like 20, 25 people in there. I guarantee you'll get orders because my God, if you triple decocting, man, that's going to be epic.
Yeah, it just takes you up through the stages, I suppose, doesn't it? Through decoction, but even I find that I think there was an interview done. Was it Budfar, and they were saying that actually even just a single decoction in homebrew level it would bring noticeable differences.
Yeah.
So it's worth it even just to do it once. You'll at our level, you'll definitely notice a big difference.
And I think that's testament to the beer that we're drinking right now. If it's just this is a single decoction, you imagine what depth of flavour you're going to get from a triple decoction. So effectively, what you guys are doing is like running off a percentage of the runnings, and then effectively boiling the grist, and then running everything else off it, and then kind of combining it before you boil.
Yeah, we hold a third back basically. Boil
so got a lot of ton, and then they keep part of the mash back and then boil it.
Hold a third back in the mash and put the rest in the lauter.
Step mash schedule, or is that what the temperature steps? Do you know that they're doing for those?
Oh, come on,
I might be pushing the limits there.
Yeah, I think you are. But we were talking in the pre-pod chat, guys, about was it gas or was it steam or what? How is it you're actually boiling that? Because that was a bit of a, like, at that scale, how do you actually heat it up? Do you know?
What do you mean in the mash tun?
See, when you're decocting, how do you boil that grain? Is it using gas or is it using steam?
It would be steam. We don't have gas in the
steam
brewery, so
Yep, cool.
We've got The thing I was my head brewer was talking to me about on Friday actually was Stein beer. Have you seen how they're making that, where they're dropping the hot rocks into the beer?
Oh, that's
unbelievable.
That's traditional farmhouse brewing type back in like old times.
The hot rocks,
they would heat up the rocks in the fire,
just
and then
literally drop them in, and the whole thing boils
and boils it.
And it's like it makes it into sort of caramel, kind of incredible.
They found that archaeologists have found these because the rocks can split from the process, and they've actually found these rocks that were split because they've been putting them in the mash. I think at the time they were putting these hot rocks to actually take it up through the stages. So you're saying that they're doing that now commercially?
He showed me a video of his friend in Italy who's got a brewery doing it, but I don't know how commercial it was.
Right,
but it was on a decent size. But
that sounds epic.
Sounds nuts. Yeah,
sounds like a lot of effort. It also sounds pretty dangerous.
It looked like one of those. Yeah.
What's life YouTube without a little danger, boys? Come on, this is beer we're talking about. This is serious business. Oh man, I'm gonna have to have a go at that.
You've also got to have an open top system that you can just drop a load of boiling rocks in.
Oh, man.
Yeah, don't mind
Lars.
dropping a massive hot rock into your nice stainless steel mash tun. Yeah,
Sounds
what
like
that
a
is,
cross
boys.
between barbacoa and brewing. Sounds
That's
good to
he's
me.
probably read that in that Lars book that did the historical brewing techniques. I don't know if you guys
Lars Garshall, is it?
Lars Garshall there. It's pretty
Oh,
big
yeah.
actually. But yeah, Lars talks about it in his book. So maybe that's where he got the idea from to try it. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Quick question before we move on, Luke. From Christian Ibbotson, one of our patrons, one of our very regular listeners. Are you
Yeah.
using the same yeast strain for all your range, or do you have multiple house strains? And more importantly,
No.
what is the origin of your house strain?
Yeah, we use the same strain, but as I said, it's our specific one. We used to get our yeast again from Germany originally. Used to get it flown over, fresh yeast, and then from that we've developed our own sort of house style, and then we've basically gone to a lab with that, and they propagate it for us to order.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're getting fresh stuff every time from the original.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, when we need it, we order it with them. They propagate it. Always the same strain. As I say, it's unique to us.
Is that from
And then it
Germany
gets-
or in the UK?
It's in the UK. It's
yeah.
It's not far from us. It's
That's cool.
Lincolnshire, I think, or Nottinghamshire somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but
National
yeah,
yeast library
it gets
then,
sent over, and then
Mhm.
and then we pitch it, and it will do about 7 or 8 brews,
Okay.
and we effectively just take it off, put into the next brew, and then and as I say, 7 or 8 times, and then we order again, and then next day delivery, and then
Are you
off we
top
go again.
cropping, or are you just taking the stuff from the bottom and just running that off into the next one?
It'll be bottom,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Just taking off the bottom. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's lager.
yeah.
It's bottom.
yeah, it's all
fermented.
bottom. It's all the conical fermenters. You just take
Yeah.
it off the
Yeah,
bottom,
yeah,
and run it into the next one.
Don't mean it
Yeah.
don't float, boys. Remember that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to sort of sort of feel out and just asked whether you know what the original strain was that you guys started using. So what do you know what strain it was? Did it come from a particular German brewery? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That would be one for Alexis, our head brewer.
I thought I'd ask.
You've
No
got to
worries.
ask these questions, man. These
You
are
do.
important
I don't know.
questions.
It's like you find your lager yeast and then you just want to use it and everything, don't you, Chris?
You do, literally. Yeah, absolutely.
Hop
You-
house.
You're sort of talking to the equivalent of kind of like beer, like train spotters. Like
Totally.
Tricky could like verse you in like the code numbers for a number of different yeasts. Off the
I
top
can
of
give you
his
some
head.
yeast numbers if you
Yeah,
want.
you absolutely
Really
could.
diving into
Yeah.
yeast
There's-
numbers.
Uber geekery.
There's
There's a lot of geek. There's a lot of
deep-
geek in the 4 of us, Luke. We are
Amazing.
right up
Well,
there.
me too. So all good.
The one thing that I will say is we chatted offline about a recipe.
Yeah.
Did we have any progression on that? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know-
I do have the Helles recipe, which the head
Yes!
brewer has sent us. Lexus has sent me, so I'll send that on to you, and you can.
Have a go.
Superb. We will.
Have a go.
We will
Stay tuned for
definitely
that
have
one
a.
then,
We will have a
folks.
bosh at that one.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm sure our listeners, who we're geeks, but they're geeks too, and I think that's something that's going to make a lot of people very happy. It is a very unique
Brilliant.
Helles.
It's so fun. It's crazy though. See when you taste it, so you get the original and then you have the clone, and then it's like you try them and then you go, it's nothing like it, even though
It's
you've got the
totally
recipe.
That's the wonderful thing about beer, though. You know, a lot of people now know that we've got to have a decoction in there in order to
But
get
that's-
where we're going. So
But this is why I asked the question about when you change from a 10 hec to a 20 hec kit, because it's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden it can taste different, and then you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make
yeah.
tweaks. and it's every brew house is totally different. Every brewery, I think, when they upscale, have this issue where they're trying
Yeah.
to chase, and then obviously ingredients change as well, sort of thing, because it's a seasonal, harvest as such. So yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
it all
folly of
changes,
trying to
yeah.
clone a beer, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
because you
Yeah.
never can.
Good luck.
True.
It's impossible. But the one thing that I will say is,
It's
it's always really nice to have, in your arsenal, a very, very good Helles recipe. Because it is one of those beers that when you brew it and you make it right and you land on the nose and you think, this is great, that's one of those ones that's going to hit your rebrew list almost immediately. They're fantastic, fantastic beers. So thank you. Appreciate that one. That'd be amazing.
Pleasure.
Look out for that one soon, guys, because that one's coming. The other thing I want to talk about is this Pilsner.
Yeah.
Because-
I was gonna say, let's talk about the Pilsner.
I want to talk about the Pilsner because, admittedly, I had the Keller between the Helles and the Pilsner. But I can remember that Helles. I've drunk a lot of it. Man, this is a crispy beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super citrus.
It's got a
man.
full stop, isn't it? It's got a full stop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it does. Yeah.
I did the Helles, right? The Helles was just like a beautiful dance on your tongue.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it was that sort of, it was almost like what you expect from a Pilsen almost, but just it was a bit more. Whereas this is went super like light and almost like that, like the citrus thing that I think is the hops that is really changing this. It just brings this lighter sort of feel to it that it's almost like this kind of summer smasher type drink, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, it
weirdly, this beer came from. We start in us like how well we 6 or 7 years. We never had a Pilsner in our core range. We had the session lager, and then what ended up happening is we were making every special that we made ended up being a Pilsner. And I don't know whether it's the same at other breweries, but the Pilsners at our brewery are like, it's what the brewers want to drink. It's like almost like the, if you're in the know, you drink the Pilsner kind of thing.
It's the pick out the flaws beer. That's what a Pilsner is. It's the beer where you pick out the flaws in your process.
Yeah, and if you can make proper beer, you can make Pilsner and etc. And so it's almost like a badge of honor. And so we went through a period of making just specials of Pilsners, and they always sold really well. We made really interesting series of single hop ones that were fantastic during COVID. And then we made one, going back to what you're saying about summer, we made a summer Pils and we called it a summer Pils, and we released it 2 or 3 years ago. And it just flew out. And then we were like, actually, we need something in our core range. The session lager that we had, which was a mini Pils, was delicious beer, and it sold quite well retail, but it didn't really ever get listed in pubs or restaurants just because, I don't know why, it just didn't quite have the same accessibility in terms of name and ABV. It was a bit lower ABV, etc. And so it was out of kilter with the Helles and the Keller. And so we decided to take the summer Pilsner and turn it into our Pilsner. So very similar style. So it does have that really summery, upfront, hoppy, citrusy, fruity, but then with the classic kind of bitter finish and that full stop that you're talking about that you need. It's what is it? Spalt Select, Mandarina, and a little bit of Diamant.
There you go.
It's the Mandarina.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's giving the citrus vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only
And
thing
it's
I find in the bottle is the ABV.
4.5.
It's right there at the bottom in tiny writing. Yeah, I mean, I would describe this as a lawnmower beer. This is a kind of beer.
No, I don't know why I say that, Chris, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
and I think that's Diamant as well. That's that
Like
really
Christmas
fresh
boy.
cut grass.
Yeah.
But what I would say about this is, I'm fairly sure after 3 or 4 pints of this, the lines on my lawn are not going to be straight. Because this is a very, very drinkable. I mean, it's a drinkable Pilsner. It gets crushed, like you said, drawing you in for another drink. That's what this beer does incredibly well. It's such a My God, that's a good beer. That is.
Is it lemongrass
A
on the
tiny-
nose? Something. It's like that. It's something. What is that on the nose that it's given that?
These Diamant hops are not one that I've heard of before. I don't know if anyone else has come
No.
across them, but
No.
I had to just quickly throw those into Google to see what it comes up with. But yeah,
That
lemon.
is good.
There's quite a lot of
Lemon.
descriptors on there: lemon, green pepper, fennel, blueberry, lavender. So that's
Yeah, there's
quite
there
an
you go.
interesting one.
That's what's giving that aroma, and it just gives summer vibes, doesn't it? It's like
It
real
does.
Yeah.
citrusy type. Oh,
Quite strong on the citrus according to the flavour wheel. Bath House has
It's-
got a nice breakdown.
It's
of the,
screaming out
flavour
for
for
a
it.
for a rack of barbecued ribs. That's what this is screaming out for. It's shouting, "Chris, you fat bastard, get
Now
outside and
I'll
light
go
the
and see if
Kamado."
they sell it on the malt miller.
oh,
God, this
Diamant
is
hops.
such a Luke,
Yeah,
I'm-
when we did the 3 single hot pilsners during COVID, as I said, as a kind of just a bit of an experiment.
Yeah,
And the Diamant was one of them, and that was my favourite. I just loved that kind of.
it's a
citrus,
German hop as
fresh
well, though.
cut grass.
Presumably,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we used 3. I think we did Select. Did we do Spot Select? We did Select and definitely Diamant. I can't. I was just trying to rack my
Yeah.
brain as to what the 3
Yeah.
were, but
This is
there was
all-
really
all
interesting to
mandarina
see
and-
just the full
Yeah,
hop
Diamant.
expression. Sorry.
no, you were
It's
saying
the-
it's Balt, Mandarina, and Diamant, wasn't it?
the
Was it?
mandarina comes.
Oh, yeah,
through
in this one, yeah.
really heavy.
Yeah.
It comes through really heavy on the back end. God, that's a lovely beer, man. That's really
I
good.
think
Well
it's like it's got the art of carrying a lot of flavour without it leaving too much of an aftertaste.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel heavy. Some
No,
Pilsner
it's-
can feel
it's-
really heavy.
Yeah, it's clean, but packed full of flavour.
That's a question: leaf or pellet? Actually,
Pellet.
pellet.
All
There you
pellet.
go.
Yeah.
Full pellet.
And yeah, and no leaf. And Ludwig, if you're ever in Technine, by the way, go and visit Ludwig at Lockerhofen. Amazing. Makes amazing hops and works with incredible breweries. But yeah, he does all pellet, and we think that gets the best results. And yeah, so we do all pellet.
There you go. Cool.
You boys are going to have to speed up on your drinking because I've hit my stride here.
I'm done, Chris. I'm ready.
Let's
Gonna have
go.
to get onto the malt miller about
I'm not-
Diamant hops because they don't have
I'm
it
not
in.
far off.
Yeah.
Here we go. We did Aurum. Sorry, I need to remember. We did Dearmont, Aurum, and you might need to talk amongst yourselves while I find the third one.
Right, shall we go with the Festival Hellas next?
Yes, please.
Sounds
This
good.
is the one with Kirkstall, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. This is Kirkstall. Let's do this one next because I'm very, very interested in this one. This is one of those beers that since it's been in my fridge, I've been wanting to drink it, and I've managed to avoid it so far. So let's not avoid it any further.
It's cool
Festival
artwork.
Hellers, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the very festival style artwork.
Yeah.
Right, I've broken the seal, boys. So I'll see you in a minute.
Oh, mate. Get your nose around that before you get your lips around it, boys.
Just while we're pouring those out, do Braybrooke have a tap room or any other like?
Soon to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the work we've been doing there. So we've got a tap room there that we're probably will open in the new year.
Awesome.
And we've also we've got the pub in Braybrooke as well, the Swan,
Yep.
which is a really lovely little thatched
Yeah.
roof country pub.
Awesome.
And so come and see the brewery, do a brewery tour, tasting
I'm
in the
not
tap
a
room,
million
and then up
miles
to the
away
pub.
from you, so it sounds like a good trip in the new.
Where
year
are you?
to come and see. I'm in Bedford.
Oh, yeah,
not
down
too
the
far
road.
away. We
Yeah,
used to
please
have
come.
we used to have a restaurant in town that had your Hellers on tap, which was one of the reasons I frequented it very regularly. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, they had a
Foxy Wings, that one.
unfortunately they had a fire, and
Yeah,
long
but they've still
story,
got.
but insurance didn't work out for them and all sorts, so it's kind of folded, unfortunately.
Yeah, the guy who runs it, really nice guy. I can't remember his name, but they've got another.
Tim?
Tim, that's it. They've
Yeah.
got another place, don't they? They've got a shop.
Well, he did have a beer fly, yeah. So he
Yes.
did own that, but he's actually sold that on to other people
Oh, has
now
he?
as well. But
Oh,
it is
okay, I
still
didn't know.
running. So
yeah,
yeah,
because they're still ordering it every now and again from us.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, that was again coming back to the sort of food thing, like being able to go there and get your Hellers on tap was like, wow, this is like legit, authentic sort of German Hellers on tap in Bedford while I can eat awesome chicken wings at the same time. It was amazing.
Yeah, were they good, the chicken wings?
The chicken wings were fantastic. It was a real shame. It was, obviously a really nice, like little independent business as well. But sadly, they had a fire caused by tea towels that were stacked. Presumably working in the restaurant industry, you might have heard of this, but apparently there's a phenomenon where if you have greasy tea towels stacked up that have come back from the dryer or something, they're not properly cleaned, they can spontaneously combust, and that's what apparently happened.
Oh wow.
Maybe you've not heard of that, but yeah, supposedly it's a thing.
No.
Safety moment.
Yeah, no, you've heard it here first. Be careful of your stacked up tea towels, but
Careful of your.
yeah, just random fire like out of nowhere in the middle of the night.
That's horrible.
Again, obviously,
yeah.
So,
I do remember when it happened. Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Right, guys, you're gonna have to give me a minute. I've got to go onto the Braybrooke website and just put an order in for a shitload more of this beer.
It's ridiculous.
Fucking hell, that is a good beer.
So as far as your recipes, Luke, obviously you've got these sort of core beers, but then there's stuff like this where it's a bit more seasonal or special releases or whatever. Are you head brewers sort of? What's their experience as far as German beer styles? How are they going about putting their recipes together? Is it just doing it all from scratch, or do any testing, or how does that work out?
No, we don't have a test kit. They put the recipes together. If they're doing a collab, obviously with whatever brewery they're doing the collab with, and then if it's a special, most of our specials now are ones that we've done previously. So we kind of have these specials throughout the year. We do a Maibock in May. We do a Doppelbock sometimes. We don't do it every year, but sort of around this time, around January, February. Baltic Porter, we do a Rausch beer smoked lager in October. We're probably going to get to a stage where we have a set, but they're all established styles that we might alter, but we don't necessarily. So the recipes for that are kind of set with a little
kind
tinkering.
of tweaking the existing
Yeah,
recipes.
we've just done a lower alcohol. We've done it twice this year. Petite Pils, we called it. We did it once in January.
It makes sense
For a little damp January lager.
Yeah.
And then so that's obviously was
How did
not
that
a
go?
traditional style.
Did
It went really well.
Did it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went really well in January because obviously people are looking for something a little bit lighter but still with flavour and
Yeah, definitely.
that 2.5%, something like that. I think it was.
Low ABV.
No. I'm going to be honest. You can keep it. I want more of this.
Chris, me and you have made low ABV beers, and we know how good they can be.
I know how good they can be, but
I don't know, man.
God,
it's
that
a hard
beer's
sell
epic.
to the home brewing crowd, though, isn't it?
No, forget about the home brewing crowd.
No, I'm just saying. I did a like low ABV themed meeting at my home brew club one January, and it was the worst attended meeting that we ever had. So just saying, it's different in the commercial sphere.
Is that because they aren't as good as making low ABV beers? Is that what you're saying?
This is what you
just
need
don't think
in your
anyone
glass.
bothered to make one. That was the problem.
Guys, this is the standout beer that we've had so
get that
far. This
instead.
is epic. This is an epic beer.
Would you say it's better than... No, hold on, Chris. You just say that's better than the Keller.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I've started drinking that.
I will
Kate's gonna have to take your
qualify
word
this
for
for
it.
you, Luke. This is exactly my favourite style of beer.
Yeah.
Right. This is utter perfection to me. I can't find a single damn aside from the size of the bottle. There is nothing wrong with this beer in any way, shape, or form. This is phenomenal. The flavour I'm getting off this, I'm trying to identify what it actually is, but the flavour that I'm getting off of this beer is just mind-blowingly good.
Okay. I think if you're a fan of the Helles, Chris, and
I
so
am.
this is like Helles on steroids, so
It's the first, isn't it?
makes sense that it's your favorite.
Do you happen to have the hops for this particular beer in front of you?
Yeah, Pearl and Spalt Select.
Bell and Spalt Select. I'm taking that.
Mate, this is ticking every single box for me. This is the body is perfect. Look at the creamy white head on top of that. It is, oh my, the flavour, the depth of flavour. It's just epic. Guys, if you have not ordered Braybrooke beer, I don't care. Even if you have, go onto their website right now and put an order in and make sure that in your order is at least 3 of these. This is such an awesome beer. It's so damn good.
Chris, did you see Luke?
He said he only ordered 1. Yeah, I know. And to be fair, that's a massive error. God,
there's more of the brewery, so
good.
That is such a good beer, man. Please tell me this is not going to be a one and done.
I don't want to lie to you, Chris.
So it's not going to be.
So I'm not going to answer.
That was kind of interesting.
No, it is a one and done unless we do it next year. Sorry,
Owen.
I was going to say, like, it's the same malt profile as the core beer Helles, but clearly there's a very different colour of the beer. So I assume that might be coming from a little bit more strength, but B is I'd be guessing it's maybe a slightly longer decoction or a slightly longer boil to get that colour difference, and also that more caramelized malt backbone versus the Helles.
They might have used a little bit more Munich, not a lot.
Yeah.
But just a shade, because it does make a big impact, the Munich, when you do it. But probably a bit longer decoction. I don't know about the boil actually, but yeah, it's a souped up version.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and it's like where I said the Keller beer was sort of verging on Märzen. This is definitely verging on Märzen.
This is epic.
There's really some nice.
It's an October. It's a fest. It's a fest beer.
You cannot, Luke. You cannot let this be a one and done. No, seriously, you can't, because this beer is so damn good. That has to be an annual production for Oktoberfest. That is such a great beer.
It could well be. I mean, we always make probably what will be the next beer, the Fest beer, which is more of a Keller, like a Keller on steroids, and this is a Helles on steroids. So
yeah, Chris, Keller and steroids.
Yeah, I know. I'm just sat here and I'm drinking this beer, and I'm desperately certain. You notice how I've not touched my e-cig, right? I'm not vaping at all while I'm drinking this. I want to savor every single mouthful of this beer. This beer is. I'll be honest, it's borderline bringing a tear to my eye.
So the aroma's like that super. Yeah, it is that.
So we've had a few beers, guy.
I'd be like this if this was
Maltese.
my first one, dude. This is such a great beer. It's like the first time that I drank Andex Hefe Hell. You realise that there
Someone's
are
made the
beers
greatest
out.
beer of all time. Yeah.
There are beers out there that you drink and you just know that beer is, pardon my French, but fucking perfection. That is such a good beer.
Yeah.
Oh my good lord, that is
It's
such
coating.
a good beer.
It's got a lovely coating about it as well.
I've paired it with some salty peanuts, and
Oh, I
it's,
did.
I'm in Nirvana right now.
That's working.
Yeah.
Jeez. Tricky,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something for you that I would never normally do. At the moment, you can't taste anything, and I get that. But what I am going
taste
to
a little
do...
bit, but I'm definitely not getting the full benefit of this beer like you.
What
guys
I'm
are,
going to
sadly.
do for you is, I'm going to say, the moment you're confident you've got your taste buds and everything back, I personally am going to dig into my pocket and I'm going to send you a couple of bottles of this.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate
This is
that.
worth drinking when you don't have COVID. Oh my good lord. I can't fault that beer in any way, shape, or form.
I forgot to mention I'm also suffering with COVID, Chris.
I know you're not.
My taste buds.
is-
are
Yeah,
all
I've
over the
actually
place.
got a bit of a sniffle as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
Luke's
own the
suffering
company,
too.
dude. That is such a... If you've not been to Braybrooke and you've not bought beers, I urge you to go there right now and buy some of this particular beer, because that is exceptionally good.
I
Yeah,
mean,
if you're doing
Go
that,
on,
we've
go on,
also
Luke.
just literally yesterday, I think it was, we released. We've done a collab with Cloudwater at the brewery. With it's called the Modern Day Pils, and it's a Pilsner with some German and American hops, which is
interesting.
tasting brilliant, delicious.
Wait there, specials and collabs.
So is it like sort of a hop forward hoppy?
Yeah, so
style
like
beer?
almost like it's got the kind of the texture of a Nipah, but it's again that
Pearl
full
and
stop. But
Talus.
it's got talus on it, and
Nice.
it's just fun. It's great beer. And Paul came down from Cloudwater to brew it with us, and we're really super happy with it. So if you are ordering a bit of festival Helles, put a bit of Modern Day in there as well.
That sounds amazing. No, Cloudwater are obviously legends, right? And know what they're doing. So
Yeah, I could go.
Yeah,
for
it was
some of that.
brilliant.
bringing those
And
two
also it was
together.
nice to combine, obviously they make, they've got their style and what they do, and I feel like with that collab we've really sort of dialed in on what the two breweries are kind of doing. So yeah, the festival Helles is
Fucking
I agree
hell,
with you,
dude.
Chris,
I can't.
tasting really
I
really
can't.
nice, and
I can't
yeah.
get over that beer. I can't. Somebody else is going to have to talk, because I'm sitting here at the moment, and honestly, I'm a bit stunned by that beer. That is so good.
We sensed like you were enjoying it.
I wasn't sure if he was into it or not, but
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Matt-
It's been quite
Difficult to
quiet
tell.
to this point, hasn't it?
Seems
Guys.
like a 6 out of a 10.
Guys, one of the revelations I've had tonight is that there's taste notes in these things that I notice similar to what I'll brew in a Helles, and it's actually been the Pearl hops, because I was like, Pearl, I always use it as a kind of a bittering hop because it's quite a high alpha hop, but there's something that I love in mine, but I love in these. And I think that common factor actually has been the Pearl hops, that's been tying in between them. It just gives that sort of lovely, sort of spicy, slightly, I don't know if it's berry or whatever, but it's just slightly that sort of, it's
Definitely our most used
common.
hop.
It just
Yeah.
screams. It just screams like, without sounding like a total dick, it just screams lager to me.
Yeah.
Pearl.
I know that
Yeah.
sounds stupid, but
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just so
are you saying it
synonymous.
smells and tastes lagery? Perhaps,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Give up, Tricky.
Yeah.
The one
Sorry,
thing
I
I
had
will
to do
say
that.
about this is I'm getting a cross between the clarity of the Helles, but I'm also getting weirdly, and please don't take this the way it sounds because I'm struggling to describe the flavour. It's almost like marmalade on toast. It's an almost orangey flavour. It's very
honey. It's
it's
honey and
very
toasted.
It's I tell you what it is. It's Seville marmalade. It's that sweetness
Oh, it's
with
honey.
that kind of that deep sweetness with a citrus note sitting on top of some very big malt. That's what that is.
Slight spice.
God,
but
that's
just-
good.
Oh,
That is so fucking. I need a moment, gents.
That's unusual
Jesus,
for you.
that's a good.
Just
that's
remember
a
to
good
turn
beer.
the camera off, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to go
And the
jerk
mic.
off. And,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
come back when you're done.
I'm about to shed a tear.
Chris
That
says
beer's blown
a
me away.
Chris, you are a massive German
I am.
lager. You're a massive fan.
You're a
Um,
fanboy.
And these days, I'm definitely like this is what I want, sort of thing. Is this kind of beer is for sure. It's
You're-
funny because it's almost like Back to the Future. I remember in 2012, was it 2013? I turned 30, so yeah, and I was in the German beer hall, and it was this sort of stuff, and I'm like, guys, this is where it's at, sort of thing. And it's almost like you go through all that American hop stuff, and then you're like, why the hell am I drinking that shit when I could be drinking, German Helles?
What was it when you said you did a Oktoberfest episode?
Yeah.
What does it, not in terms of obviously
But
I'm
you're
just looking at the comments from well, how does it compare in terms of, I'm quite interested. Obviously, we try a lot of the Oktoberfest beers when they come out, and we'll try the Fest beer next, which is, as I say, richer, more amber Keller style. What did you find in terms of what was the styles, the majority of the styles, but also the quality? Were they beers that are you always like, yes, I love the Fest beers when they come out?
yeah, because it's richer. It's just big. It's just the bigger amped up version of a Helles, isn't it? It's just that.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Well, were they
almost got that-
mainly on that style of the kind of amped up Helles style, or were they more on the
It was a
You-
combination.
that Mars and
There's-
kind of
there's-
style?
yeah, you've got the
it-
Melton.
It was both. Yeah.
It's both.
Yeah.
Well, so we got a mixed box from beer merchants, and
Yeah.
well, also we all picked up the box that Lidl have been doing for the last couple of years, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
surprisingly good quality
Very
from
good.
lots of very small
Oh, they're amazing, those beers.
Yeah, it's like
like
5.8,
actually,
6%.
breweries that
Yeah.
you would never get in the UK any other
Yeah.
route, even through suppliers like beer merchants. And you do get a mix of the modern Fest beer and some of the more traditional sort of Metz and style Fest beers and stuff. And I think, I guess we kind of all have an appreciation for both, really. And obviously there's some that we like more than others. But I don't know. Personally, I kind of enjoy the darker, more traditional Metzens probably over the modern Fest beers as a general rule. But having said that, some of them are. Some of the more modern Fest beers are equally delicious. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to start drinking another beer because honestly, I'm getting quite emotional.
And
about
on
beer.
that note, on to another Fest beer.
It's very, very rare that a beer or anything, to be fair, will move me to tears. But that last beer has got me, honestly, quite emotional. That is
Really?
such a good beer.
Yeah, it's good.
The smell of
stuff.
it, man. I can't get over the smell of it. Like, I know the taste is great, but the smell was really quite special. There's a lot going on there.
That is. I hope this beer is even 50% of that last beer because that was amazing, Luke. That was such
Oh, thank you.
phenomenal.
Well-
Like massive kudos to you guys for producing that beer because, my God, that was good.
And that's we talked. You were asking about
5.4.
test kits and everything, or testing beers. That's them coming up with that recipe, and they've got one chance to get that right.
Well, they fucking nailed it, mate.
Yeah, and so that's Alexis and the team. They're fantastic.
We're going to have Alexis on the
What's
podcast because
what's
if
the
he
background
introduces
for
that,
your brewing team? Like, do they have
Say
experience
that.
in?
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, I was just saying, what's the background for your brewing team? Do they have experience from working in, lager specific breweries, or and any training in Germany at all? Or is it just what they've done
at the
here?
beginning, our brewers were going over to Marsbrow to see it happen, and then
Right.
Alexis, who's our head brewer now, is from Padova in Italy. He worked at an amazing brewery called Crack. I don't know if you've heard of Crack. In Padova,
I've heard it's good.
it's fantastic, but not a lot.
Sorry, that was just an open goal there.
It's just you smoke it, and it's just
Very Moorish.
yeah, it's addictive, almost people might say. It's a very good brewery. So anyway, he worked there and then moved over from Padova to us, but with a deep love of German style lagers. And we've actually had 2 head brewers in 7 years, and they've both been from Italy. And we've got a guy called Davide who's worked for us for 5 or 6 years. He's from Italy. So we've got a real Italian core to our brew team, which is amazing. And they're passionate about German beer and German lagers. And then our assistant brewer, Ben, is local to Market Harborough, but massive, fantastic brewer, and has just got really into the whole lager thing. So yeah, they just seem to be doing good stuff. So it's fantastic. And Alexis runs the brew team fantastically.
So yeah, they've got a massive passion for German beers. You're sort of on the right
Basically,
track.
basically it's just all about German lager.
Yeah.
And not only German lager, but lager, just making it, because there are lagers not from Germany that are brilliant as well. Just Czech, obviously, and other places. But just a love of beer, and then dialed in on lager and trying to make the best version, and always trying to improve. And where can we go the next step and the next step? And, not only are we, as we talk about, hopefully we'll be doing triple decoction mash at some point. We're also going to hopefully at some point going to be having individual water profiles for each of our core beers.
yeah.
So we're
That's
actually
a big
dialing in
thing.
so detailed. Not only do we reverse osmosis, but we're actually making that water style exactly for the Keller, exactly for the Helles, exactly for the Pilsner.
So you're doing on a commercial level what we as homebrewers, because all 4 of us have all got RO systems. You're doing on the commercial scale exactly what we're doing on the homebrewer scale, and that's a level of detail that a lot of breweries don't go into.
Well,
They'll add things to it, but they will. Well, exactly, but
It's actually very unusual for breweries to have RO systems.
I want to see the size of your RO system, to be fair, because I guarantee you it's not as tiny as ours.
You'll have to come and see us.
Trust me, as soon as that tap room is open, mate, Luke's already trying to bully us into organising it. We were talking about it the other day.
Chris, what's an RO system? I've never came across one of those things.
Yeah, well,
yours comes out of the tap, you
Andy,
twat.
Andy has a built-in RO system.
Because I've got this lovely Scottish water, it just
Highlands.
you just turn on the tap and it just comes out like RO, basically.
We're not jealous at all.
Bamberg, Burton, and wherever you are, that's the dream.
That's the dream.
Absolutely, he's up in Stevenston in Scotland, mate.
Yeah, sure, yeah, Scotland.
Yeah.
Next to Glasgow.
His was the beers that got delivered to the wrong address, Luke.
Yeah, well,
I seen a picture and then I'm like, that's my neighbours across the road, number 8 instead of number 9.
Yeah.
I was like, that prick better not be drinking my beers.
yeah, because we were like, oh, it's been delivered, and then Alexis was like, yeah, but it did get delivered to number 8, not
There
number
must be
9.
a very real danger up in Scotland that you could have just scolded them in.
I know,
5
I was
minutes.
just like, oh no, this
on the
guy's
lager.
like, it had Braybrooke all over it, Braybrooke lager and everything.
Beer
The guy had
company,
been like,
yeah.
oh, this is great.
Yeah.
No, but it was.
Chris,
I went over and
you-
he was brand new.
Chris,
So
you said you were like, oh, he's got to go have a look around the perimeter to see if he can find the box. I was like, does he live in some sort of like estate that you're like, gotta find it in this?
He's got a pink front
Amazing.
door, mate. His front door's pink.
It might be in the West Wing. Let me check.
No, it was.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Was,
I'll send the butler.
Send
Yeah.
the dogs out. Let's go see.
It was one of those things, but we got there in the end. I
Yeah.
am not disappointed by this. This is very much along the lines of my own recipe for a
this is like
Märzen.
it's a fest Märzen, isn't it?
It's slightly lighter than my personal recipe, but the
Yours
flavour
has
is
got a lot
so
of crystal,
close.
Chris.
Yeah,
Can
it's
I,
so close.
can I go grab it from the fridge? Is that all right? If you give
You
me
Yeah,
crack
yeah,
on,
yeah.
mate. I
Go
need
nuts,
to break
Luke,
the
yeah.
seal anyway, so
It's,
yeah.
We'll
Brilliant.
chat shit for
It's
5 minutes.
it's more better, definitely.
We'll
There's
pause
more
it for a
bitterness
couple
to
of
it.
moments, guys. So we'll be back in a minute.
Oh,
Oh, we're gonna carry on talking
Fuck
about
me
it.
and
me,
Arnold
that
talk.
last beer was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That last
good,
beer
man.
was
I know.
godlike.
that's
We
what I
are
would
on
call
to
a modern.
the Harvest Fest beer now, right?
Yeah, that's it. So it's basically I would call this is it like a traditional.
This is more
fest
traditional as
beer?
a fest beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not quite up there with the ABV. Normally they're around about 6. It's
6.
about 0.5% off, but the flavour.
It's
man.
Chris.
Just
No, but
somebody
it's the hop.
describe the aroma to me because I'm still getting fuck all.
I
personally,
need
so-
a piss. I'll be back in a minute.
So, Trigger, the flavour is
It's not actually that much aroma.
definitely like stronger in the sort
It's
of
got the crystal.
brown bread. It's like crusty brown bread.
I'm getting a little bit
There's-
of the flavour, but like it's the obviously without the aroma,
The aroma.
it's sort of- I'm lacking.
Are you
the-
getting a crap load of bitterness?
Not,
I think-
not a
No,
crap
compared to
load.
the rest.
No,
no.
I think all the
Don't mean
beers have
West
tasted
levels.
a little bit more bitter to me anyway, just because my taste buds are fucking like
Yeah.
I would
Right,
say
but-
like if you were judging a Mets, and if you were
But yes,
judging
this
that-
one tastes a little bit more bitter to me, Andy. than
If you were judging
Yeah.
that beer in the Mets category, BJCP, I think that's a little bit too bitter.
Yeah.
But on the aroma, like you're still getting the same kind of similar hot present
It's
vibe
that
as you
caramelly.
do through most of their beers.
But what
through
makes
the
this
range.
difference, Owen, what makes
Which
this
is-
different to the
which-
previous was it's got that more caramelly thing, isn't it?
I would say more. It's stronger on the
Malt.
like bread, like brown bread,
Uh-huh.
malt character.
With a bit of sweetness.
Yeah, with a bit of sweetness to it. Probably like we've gone from like a very lightly toasted
Honey.
toffee to
Like honey toast.
more
Yeah.
developed, like a more developed
Märzen style.
not quite burnt, but definitely well caramelized.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And more
But
better. Definitely
still-
more.
still really clean. Still
So
really
I-
clean.
Oh,
still
totally.
really...
I had my headphones on when I was outside. Now,
Pronounced.
listen to everything that Owen just said, and I agree with almost every part of it. For a fest beer, the bitterness is almost where it needs to be. It's maybe a touch high,
Yeah.
but flavour-wise, this is bang on the money for a fest beer.
Yeah.
The
Like
bitterness-
a traditional fest beer, Chris.
The bitterness is maybe 4 or 5 points higher than where I would personally expect it to be. But overall, the flavour profile is absolutely cock-a-doodle-doo. It is bang on.
Yeah.
You've got the malt, you've got the hops, you've got that drink me factor.
Mm-hmm.
You know something? We've not had a bad one tonight.
No.
We've not had bad
Not a
ones.
single
Yeah.
one. Oh no, I didn't expect to have a single one. The bitterness in this beer is just as you said. I think it's just a little bit too high. That it just slightly.
But then
holds
is it-
back the malt character?
But wait, see, the more you go back into it, the less it becomes the bigger thing. The more you drink of it, I'm finding as I go down it, it's like it starts to balance out.
The one denominator that I've noticed through the whole range of the beers so far is like a really beautiful
The malt.
Bavarian meadow
Yes.
hop
Yes.
presence
Yes.
that's just through there, and it just complements every single beer so beautifully.
But then the malt,
Really enjoying that.
the malt is like the star, almost
It's
like
German beer. The malt is always the star.
no. Do you know what we went
He's
from the
just
Pilsen?
the
No,
man's just nodded. He's just agreed.
but
with me.
we went with the Pilsen, right? And the Pilsen was so delicate and light. But then we've had like all these various different ones, like
Andy,
the Helles and all that, and
Andy, but the
it's
balance,
the breadiness. Oh
But
no,
the
yeah,
balance.
but that's what I'm
That's the
saying.
thing.
You guys are trying to say the hops are the star, and I'm almost like, well,
No,
I
no,
think
saying that at
I'm
all.
not saying they're the star. I'm saying it's the common denominator, which is the single thing that is the same throughout all of the beers.
Which is that
Is
Bavarian
Oh, but it's-
meadow.
yeah,
is a
beautifully
nuance
Yeah.
of like a lovely hop presence,
yeah,
and it just allows the malt to be the star. It kind of brings the malt into
That's
into
what it
focus.
is.
yeah.
We're
and that was the
waxing
point I was
lyrical
making.
at the moment, Luke. That's
So,
what we're doing.
yeah.
I know you've
So
had your headphones
I'll
on.
listen. I don't need to say anything. I'll just.
It's
But I think it's really interesting for me because the hops character in the Keller and the Helles and the Festive Helles and the Fest beer, I suppose, would often be overlooked, and not because they're not great, but they play a supporting role.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting what you say about that core, Owen, about that you get that, which I agree with you. I think it's a really good point. But because it's with German beers all about the malt, and we talk about, but there is such a symbiotic relationship. But so it's
I
really
like him.
interesting
He's
that
using
you picked that
scientific
up.
words.
Yeah.
That's such a good
but-
word to use because it is
Symbiotic.
perfection. They feed off of each other.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. It's perfect. The way that the hops complement the malt, which complements the hops. It's just perfection. Flowing through from the first sip to the last. It's God.
And I think it's a testament to the quality of those ingredients. The hops we get from Lockerhofen and that malt, they're so great. They're just brilliant, and it would be a crime to muck it up when the ingredients are so fantastic.
Well, you've certainly committed no crime, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've definitely, Alexis and the team have combined those with such an excellent hand.
We're going to have to get the brewer on, aren't we? We're going to have a repeat with Braybrooke in the early new year where we get the brewer on and we sit down and we talk to them. And
Well, you should come to the brewery. Would you do that? Come to the brewery and we'll do one there with Alexis in the tap room.
We'll get some
Yes.
video for sure. Definitely. I mean, that's on the nose. We'll definitely do that because
it's because we invested. We've actually got some radio mics, didn't we, Chris?
We
We
did.
got the what was the ones we got?
DJI.
DJI mics, and then I was a professional photographer. Look, at one point doing weddings and stuff, so I did invest heavily in some kit. But I've managed to, after lockdown, I managed to relax out of that because I think I did it for about 10, 12 years or something like that, roughly. But now, as time goes on, more money and jobs and stuff, and I was like, nah, I just want to enjoy time with my kids. But so I do have some good kit, like
And the three of us, the
Video
other three,
wise.
so me, Owen, and Rich, we can drink really well.
they
So
can
Andy
interview.
can video and we'll just drink.
I'll do the video,
Yeah.
dude.
That's just, oh my god!
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I
it
am-
does.
I am
And we can all stay.
struggling.
Richard, you can host this, can't you?
And interestingly,
Maybe.
you seem to be
You
You can
like,
just stay at the brewery. We've got
I was
beds
gonna say.
there. You can sleep there.
It's,
Oh, there you
it's
go.
about an
Hopefully.
hour away from me, so it might be a little bit logistically difficult to get
No,
one there
it's
and back.
not.
Rich, you can
we'll
fire
get
up
it.
the Kamado.
No, I know it's just the transportation
do you have
there and
food
back.
on
If
tap,
everyone's
Luke?
shit faced, is the problem.
Yeah.
You've got food there.
That's cool.
There will be when
Well,
the
I say
tap room's
that,
open.
we
Yeah,
can-
we've got
probably
done an
get a
Airstream
train.
trailer with a
Oh mate, we're
kitchen in
sold.
it.
We're sold.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And
And if
Right,
not, we'll go
that's-
down the Swan and we'll have some food down at the pub. So it's
Where's
about
the-
half a
um,
mile away. So
What's the nearest train station, Luke?
Market Harbour.
Market
I'm guessing.
Harbour.
And that's
Yeah.
on the Bedford line, right?
Is it walking distance or is it taxi distance?
It's walking distance when you're drunk and you forgot to order a taxi when you get there, which is 40. It's about 45 minutes, but normally it's about
Wow.
5-10 minute taxi ride.
Nice.
That works.
Yeah.
We're going to make that happen because that is going to be, as long as you promise me that the
I know what you're gonna say.
the collab is not going to be a one and done. If that's a one and done, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Well, you'll have to be honest, you'll have to speak to Alexis about that. So
Not a problem. I can
Have
be
words
very
with him.
convincing.
Chris, why don't we just
Yeah.
go and brew your melts in there?
That's not a bad shout, actually, to be fair. Yeah.
You'll need
could
to
do
send
that.
it first so they make sure
Do
it's
that.
not crap.
Well,
but-
I'm about to rebrew that, but with decoction mash.
oh,
So let me experiment with that and tell you how it comes out. But
One thing that I will say, and I saw this message and I had to have a bit of a laugh at it, is so Liam McGee, our Mancunian listener, said his current tabs that are open in his browser are the Malt Miller, Brewcake Tab, and the Braybrooke Bottle Shop. Whoops. So yeah,
he's buying lots of stuff, and
that's Liam for you. He's a top lad. We'll make that happen. This beer is great. I can't fault this beer at all. Maybe the bitterness. Maybe it's a few points higher than we would expect for the style, but it in no way detracts from the flavour.
Ooh.
If anything, I think it helps. the
actually,
malt.
it separates it from the rest.
Yeah, it does. That little touch of bitterness really helps with the malty backbone.
Yeah,
We said when we started, Luke, that we've been waiting a while for this podcast, and we've been wanting you guys to come on, honestly, for about 2 years. And now
Yeah.
that you're on, we're not disappointed in any way, shape, or form, bud, because
Oh, that's
the
good.
beers we've had have been excellent. The information that you've given us has been amazing. But one of the things that me and Andy, we've got a little sort of private group, and
Yeah.
I've been chatting to him. One of the things that we're interested in is what information did you get from your brewer
yeah,
that was complementary to the questions that we asked? Because we understand that, I mean, honestly, I could sit here forever and I could talk about the malt and the flavours and all the other bits and bobs, but which of the questions that are on the notes did your brewer send you information about? Was it the fermentation schedule? Was it when you cropping the yeast? And more importantly, for Andy's point of view, since he's got the most expensive... Right, I'll tell you a little story. So Andy bought a load of kit, and the rest of us, what we normally have to do is we maybe have to buy a new spunding valve, or we maybe have to buy a slightly bigger fridge, which, let's face it, we all get off Facebook Marketplace. Andy had to rewire his house.
and
When it came
with
to his new
glycol,
kit.
I had to fit glycol as well because it
Did
went. But yeah,
Amazing. That is
So
amazing.
there's levels to this game, and Andy is currently Olympic
Years old.
standard.
well,
Yeah.
But specifically when it comes to capping and spunding, because it's one of the things that we don't understand as brewers in this country, is when you're carbonating, at what point do you just say, right, that's the end of spunding, we're going to cap it there, we're going to carbonate it up, and then we're going to transfer it to the tank, and we're going to let it age. At what gravity do you do that, and at sort of what point during the fermentation?
There's a chance that you're going beyond my technical knowledge, but what I would say is that we naturally carbonate. We spund. Let me tell you what Alexis said to me.
nice.
Says, he said that was about cropping yeast. He says when fermentation is 3 or 4 points to the end, we spund and lower to 8 degrees, and then the next day we collect from the bottom of the tank. Then we use in the next brew.
Right,
But
yeah,
yeah,
there you go. Right, okay, cool. No, that makes
That's
Does that make
important
sense?
that. Yeah,
information.
yeah. Because I think what was that? I was 6 degrees, so you guys are doing it 8. That's cool. Right, okay. This
So
Yeah.
is
four
do you want the
points.
You want the gravities of
yeah. Is
Keller,
this yeah?
Helles, and Pils?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
on
The
then.
gravity of
totally.
Keller is, off the top of my head, obviously, 1.049.
Yep.
Gravity of Helles 1.043, and the gravity of Pils 1.045.
So those are your starting gravities.
Does it
Yeah.
say off the top of your head, Luke? Do you happen to know
Yeah.
the finishing gravities of the core beers?
No,
as
no,
well?
that would be one for an in-person podcast at the brewery with
We're doing that.
Alexis.
You,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
wanna-
Doing
you don't want to
That's
share
where you-
those very
that's where you find
specific
the real
details.
secrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Secret
I
sauce.
understand.
That's it.
You've
secret
got to keep
sauce.
these things, you got to build
Close to your chest.
tension.
Got to
You've
work
build
for it.
tension.
That's,
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of those things whereby, those are the real key values. Those are the ones that separate the men from the boys when it comes to producing a true German lager. I would be interested to know at what point. So you said 4 points from final gravity. That's the point where you cease the spunding and you do your natural carbonation. So from that, I'm working out 4 points with, let's assume, a 1048. So you're probably going to be, you're going to be completely carbonating naturally. There's no CO2 being pumped in
No,
there
there's
at
no
all.
CO2 pumped in. That's
No, so-
like natural carbonation is, and
Yeah.
you can get that throughout the beers. That's another core that runs through
you
it,
can
which
flavour
is
it.
so
You can taste
different.
it. You can taste it.
You can taste it, and you can taste the
Fine.
fineness.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from a restaurant background, you talk about champagne and the mousse and the fineness of the pétillance, all that fancy stuff. But it's the
That's a
same
word I've
thing.
never
It's
heard before.
like what pétillance?
Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
It basically means bubble, kind of. I believe, but it's
Okay, cool.
it is so vital. Like the number of mass-produced beers, lagers that you drink that are over-carbonated,
Yep.
and but also not only over-carbonated, but with large aggressive bubbles because you've you've soda streamed it,
Yeah.
and so you can't taste anything, and that's on purpose because they don't want you to taste what the base product tastes of because it doesn't taste very nice.
Yeah.
Whereas we want you to taste what the base product tastes like.
Yeah, because it brings more.
nice.
Yeah, it does bring more. Yeah.
And it's softer, and it means you can drink these beers easier without feeling bloated.
And the
And
cool thing,
go on.
see that lower temperature, say you're saying 8 degrees at the spund, is what then allows for a good amount of carbonation. Whereas what you'll find is like the guys you guys that are raising it, right? And you're like, oh, the acid will rest at 16, whatever, 17, 18 degrees. What you're missing out on is like a 15 psi or 12 psi. It basically means there's not that much carbonation going into your beer at those temperatures. Whereas if you do it at the
Absolutely.
lower temperatures, then you're actually going to get the right amount of carbonation in your beer.
I will call the carbonation on these beers. Honestly, I'm usually pretty good at judging this. No. But the volumes of CO2, I would put between 2.9 and 3.1. I would say that's the range that they're aiming for.
It's what you want.
And it's bang on for a lager.
Yeah, you want a good, it's almost, what, Chris, would you call that a 15 psi sort of set and forget?
I would say that's between 14, 16,
In
15,
the
that
fridge.
kind of range. Yeah, definitely. That's Luke, I said at the start we're all geeks, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
That's
No.
That's beautiful information.
Don't quote me, but I think our range for carbonation is 2.8 to 3.2.
There you
There you go.
That's
So
what
you
I call.
I think I might. I don't want to be proved wrong, but I think the other thing to go on. Sorry.
No, I was going to say for the Pilsner it feels slightly higher.
Mm.
For the Helles it feels more mid range, but for the Pilsner it definitely feels just a touch higher.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
a beautiful. They're all
15
beautiful
psi,
beers.
Andy. Just check the calculator.
15.
Bang on.
That's perfect. That.
Nailed
No.
it.
Right. I don't want this.
Someone's I've done this before.
What I don't want this podcast to do is I don't want it to drag on with us just adding strange questions onto Luke. I want this to kind of come to a natural end. And what I want to say is, Luke, there's going to be a lot of questions from people in an after party. Do you have 20 minutes?
Of course I do. Yeah.
Right, excellent. In that case, guys, I'm going to call this one where it is. We're obviously going to go to Braybrooke. We're obviously going to film something there. We're obviously going to have a conversation with everybody, and you never know, you may get a picture of me asleep on the brewing room floor. But the way that it's going to go is right now, I'm going to pop up a link while somebody else does the end of session comments. Massive thanks to Luke. You've been brilliant, mate. You've been absolutely amazing. And every single beer that I've had has been mind-blowingly good. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to say thank you for coming. I'm going to let somebody else do the closing statement, and I'm going to sort out the after party link. Whatever happens, Luke, don't leave this window until we tell you that you can.
Okay.
Tricky,
Nice one.
Andy, go.
Me? Right, guys. Well, it has been an absolutely fantastic podcast where we have dived into some of the most amazing different styles of German beers, should I say? So we've kind of went from a kind of lovely sort of light to real getting into that fest beer, and it has been amazing. So I hope you guys have actually got your imaginations going about how you can craft your own German beers, but also thinking about, I want to try these beers if you haven't already, and getting onto that Braybrooke website. And if you're gonna, make sure you get some of that festival beers, because don't just buy the one, make sure you buy a couple. All right,
Buy at least 5.
Yeah.
Five. In fact, you know what? 7's the magic number, so go
12.
with 7.
But yeah, it has been fantastic. Thanks very much, Luke, for coming on to the podcast and really
That's
kind of
been great
blessing
fun.
us. Yeah, it's been amazing chatting to you tonight, and just getting an insight into Braybrooke and your philosophy and how you guys do things, and like your real attention to detail and ingredients. Make sure you get the right quality of ingredients, and with your malt and your hops and your yeast as well, and making sure that you have got a steady, it's like that tying line through it all, because I think we all know how important a real good lager yeast is. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. And yeah, and guys, if you all want to say your goodbyes.
Cheers, Luke.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been a
Thank
lot
you
of
very
fun.
much for having me.
Bye bye.
Thanks for the
I
beers.
have to say that has been one of the most enjoyable podcasts I've done in a very long time. So thank you very much. And that beer, if that's one and done, mate, you're going to make me very disappointed. Such a
good.
great beer.
Bring
Such
it
a
back.
great beer.
I feel a
So-
petition coming on, Chris, maybe.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Last weekend, we had WHC Yeast on. We were giving them so much shit about a yeast they produce called Hopping Pills,
But
which is literally
They-
it's 820. It's the
they branded it as
Nelson yeast.
but they branded it as this kind of hoppy lager yeast, and it was like, no, this
It's
is
a
like
Melton yeast.
this is a Melton, like absolute brings out the malt character. Like I've used it twice now, and both beers that I've made with it have been traditional beers, have just been outstanding. And I'm like, you guys need to remake this, because I think they did. Was it a 3-ton batch or something like that, Chris?
They should have done 20 ton. It's
and
amazing.
it's like remarket this as a kind of Melton type yeast bock or whatever,
Yeah.
and resell it, and it'll fly out.
It's a brilliant yeast. So, thank you for coming on, Luke. I will absolutely say this has been a really, really good podcast for me. Not just because of the beers that we've had, because of the way that you've been and the information that you've had, and to be fair, the way that you've been unapologetic about we make lagers.
Very
You
good
know,
lagers.
I will say one thing though. There is a picture on your website which is a chalkboard on the gate,
Oh yeah,
and it says
New Zealand Pils.
Pilsner.
Yeah, that
You
was
never
our that was our first. Actually, Our first beer was Keller. Our second beer was a New Zealand Pilsner that we made for our first beer festival back in the day, and it got such a good reception that we started making that as our core beer. So so it was session lager, but before that it was New Zealand Pilsner.
I think maybe we need to rebrew that one and
Nothing
release
wrong
it,
with
man.
that.
We
as a
do
core
it
beer.
very
Yeah,
occasionally.
like
bring
a
it
new,
back, yeah.
New
That's a
Zealand
great
Pilsner
one.
was good.
It's a great one. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
guys, episode 103 is in the bag. Can we call it that? Can we call it in the bag?
Yeah.
We're going to see you in the after party very soon. There's a few people in there already. Well, actually, there's Luke in there at the moment. Click on the after party. If you've got any questions for Luke, you can ask him in there. But all I would ask is for a little bit of decorum for the first 20 minutes so that people can ask Luke questions and he can answer them without being talked over. Other than that, I really need another 10 bottles of this.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
after that's happened, I just want to say thank you, because every single beer that we've had tonight has been absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm going to get really, really drunk drinking the Baltic Porter in the after party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel rich. I feel like that. I'm hoping the Baltic Porter is the thing that's going to break through your COVID cloud, and you'll be like, "I can smell again. I can smell again." Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
We're
the
gonna
last.
do that.
It's
We're
the
gonna
last
do that.
hope. It's the last hope for my palate
Yeah.
now, isn't it? See
Right,
what
guys.
happens.
Thanks for joining us.
Nope.
We'll see you in the after party. Please, nobody
Cheers,
leave
guys.
this
Thank
window
you.
until we're done. Thank
Yep.
you. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
mate. Bye.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Yep. Look.